Purpose is not a task. It is not a goal. It is not a line you cross or a title you hold. It is a flame within the soul that does not flicker with applause or approval. It burns in silence, and it burns in storms. It survives rejection. It outlives fame. It remains when all else is stripped away. Aristotle called it entelikeia, the inner drive that moves a being toward its fulfillment, not by force, but by nature. The way an acorn moves toward the oak, the way fire moves upward, the way your soul moves toward meaning, even when the world pulls you in every other direction. You are not here to be everything. You are here to be one thing yourself, fully, truly, without mask, without mimicry. Your task is not to follow a map, but to listen for the voice within the one that whispers in stillness, the one that stays through joy and heartbreak, the one that never leaves. Though you may forget it for a time, purpose is not found. It is remembered. It is not created. It is uncovered. It is what remains when fear is burned away, when ego is humbled, when noise is quieted, when the soul begins to speak again in the soft language of knowing and the simple rhythm of breath. Epictetus said, "First, say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." This is not ambition. This is alignment. This is waking each day, not asking what do I want, but asking what is needed of me. What is mine to carry? What is mine to heal? What is mine to create? What is mine to become? Purpose will not always feel like fire. Sometimes it feels like ashes. Sometimes it feels like silence. But even in those moments, the ember remains glowing beneath the surface, waiting for the breath of truth, the spark of courage, the fuel of love. You do not need to change the world. You need to become the kind of person who cannot help but change it by your presence, by your words, by your being, by the unwavering light you hold within. Socrates taught that the unexamined life is not worth living, not because it is wrong, but because it is empty, hollow, aimless. It moves, but does not arrive. It speaks, but does not sing. It exists, but does not truly live. And you were made to live, to burn bright, to stand tall in truth, and walk forward in meaning. Your purpose is not a possession. It is a practice. It is not what you say. It is how you rise. It is how you carry yourself when no one sees how you speak, when silence is easier, how you love when fear would have you turn away. Plato said the soul takes flight when it finds truth, and this flight is your purpose, not escape, not flight from pain, but flight into height, into clarity, into the real that shines behind the illusion, the beauty that lives behind the fear. Do not wait for permission. Do not ask the world to validate your fire. It cannot. It was not given by the world. It was given by the divine, and it is fed by service, by sincerity, by the sacred act of being who you were made to be. No matter how long it takes, no matter how quiet the road, there will be days when the fire dims, when the path is unclear, when the mountain feels too steep and the night too long. But even then, especially then, keep walking. Even a single step is enough, because purpose is not a finish line. It is the direction of your soul. It is the compass that points home. Remember the heroes of old, not because they conquered, but because they endured, not because they were perfect, but because they kept their flame alive through trial, through exile, through doubt, through death. And so can you. You carry something eternal, not in name, but in essence, not in fortune, but in fire. And when you live from that place, you give others permission to do the same. You become a light, not because you shine the brightest, but because you remind the world that they too were born with fire. So wake each day with courage, not certainty, not comfort, but courage, to keep the fire alive, to feed it with action, with humility, with gratitude, and with love, and know that even when it seems small, your purpose remains the most powerful force you possess. Because the world may forget your name, but it will not forget your light. There is a weight you are meant to carry, not a punishment, not a curse, not something to be avoided, but something sacred, something sculpted for your soul. And when you choose to bear it, when you lift it with grace and fire and faith, you begin to awaken into the fullness of who you are. Heraclitus said, "Character is destiny." And what is character, if not the willingness to carry your burden with dignity, to shoulder the trials that refine you, rather than run from them, to accept the responsibility of being alive, not as a chore, but as a calling. You were not born to float through life untouched. You were born to feel, to suffer, to struggle, and to rise again. You were born to endure the weight of fear and still choose courage, the weight of sorrow and still choose love, the weight of uncertainty and still walk forward in this burden is the seed of your transformation. It shapes you, not by what it takes away, but by what it calls forth, the strength. You did not know you had the resilience that lies dormant until summoned the wisdom that suffering plants deep and slow, like roots beneath the earth. The Greeks knew that the hero's journey was not marked by ease, it was marked by burden and how one bore it. Achilles bore glory, Odysseus bore longing, Heracles bore labors. Each carried something immense, and through the carrying they became who they were meant to be. Your burden may not be war or exile or 12 impossible labors, but it is yours, and it is no less holy. It may be grief or chronic pain or loss or the invisible ache of not belonging. It may be the task of healing what your ancestors passed down or breaking cycles you never asked to be part of. But in bearing this with open eyes and open heart, you become a new kind of hero, not one of legend, but one of soul. And that matters more than history, more than gold, more than fleeting praise. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "What stands in the way becomes the way." And so your burden is not the thing that blocks your path. It is your path. And when you stop resisting it, when you stop asking why me and start asking what now, the burden begins to change you and you begin to change the world. There is no strength without struggle. There is no depth without descent. There is no glory without weight. And so do not envy the unburdened. Their ease may hide shallowness. Their freedom may be illusion. You are being called into greatness, not in spite of your burden, but because of it. Epictetus said, "Difficulties are things that show a person who they are." And in this moment, right now, your soul is being shown to you in the way you breathe through pain, in the way you do not quit when no one is watching, in the way you keep your heart open even when the world tells you to close it. There will be days you want to set it down, and you should rest, you should weep, you should breathe, but then you must rise again, not because you have to, but because something inside you says, yes, I will, yes, I can, yes, I must. And in that rising, you honor every soul who ever carried a burden they did not choose and turned it into meaning, into strength, into a deeper kind of beauty. Socrates drank the poison not with fear, but with faith, that truth was worth more than breath, and you too must drink your portion of difficulty, not as defeat, but as destiny, not as punishment, but as passage. You are not alone in this weight. Every true soul, every awakened spirit has carried theirs, and now it is your turn, not forever, not alone, but with the fire of those who came before, and the light of those who will come after. Carry it well, not perfectly, not effortlessly, but faithfully, because the burden you carry may be the very thing that sets someone else free. If you felt inspired by our journey through the Hellenic horizons, give a thumbs up, subscribe, and share your thoughts below.